It's been a couple of days since they announced the cause of death for Gene Hackman and his wife, and I'm starting to see some people come around. There's a mixed bag on social media right now and in my comment sections below. Some people, including myself, we have accepted the explanations that we have been given, but others are not accepting it. And they passionately believe that something else happened here. Now, personally, I don't necessarily think so. I understand why people feel that way, but I'm not necessarily in that camp. In fact, I had one person in my comments saying that Cinema Shogun is compromised. Cinema Shogun has been compromised. Because I don't necessarily think that there's a bigger conspiracy here in this story. Now, I tell you guys all the time, there's always more to a story. And there was much more to the Gene Hackman story than what we were told on day one. The same thing goes for every news story out there. I know that there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world right now. We talk about a lot of that crazy stuff on this channel. But that doesn't mean that every story has to be a gigantic conspiracy. I would be more on board with that if Gene Hackman was a little bit younger. But in my opinion, if I was someone that wanted Gene Hackman dead, if I was someone that wanted to knock Gene Hackman off, I don't think I would come up with an elaborate plan or an elaborate scheme to take him out. I would literally just sit back and wait a couple of weeks. I mean, I'm not trying to sound mean here. I'm just being realistic. Gene Hackman was a 95-year-old man who was already in his final days. Why put forth the effort to concoct a crazy plan to take him out when you could just sit back and wait a few weeks, a month or so, and he'll probably die of natural causes? So I don't think I remember many stories about people Gene Hackman's age getting knocked off in crazy plots, but hey, who knows? Of course, we also have his wife in the situation that adds a little bit more mystery to the equation as well. But you know, we have people all over who have their own thoughts and opinions. A lot of people still think there's something more to this story. And one of those people happens to be Hollywood legend Randy Quaid. Now, we heard from Randy Quaid a few days ago in the middle of this investigation. And from what he was saying, he believed that Gene Hackman and his wife were killed. He even claimed that he had a lead on the people who were doing this to Hollywood celebrities, right? Now, Randy Quaid made some very valid points when he came out a few days ago saying all of that stuff. Because I firmly believe that there are famous people in Hollywood, famous musicians as well, who have been killed in crazy plots to basically try to take control over their name and their rights and their image and likeness and their music and what have you. There is a point, you know, where some actors and musicians, there's a point where they become more profitable for these big corporations when they're dead. I don't think Michael Jackson died naturally. You could feel how you want to feel about him. There was obviously a little bit of a conspiracy there. They wanted to go ahead and take him out. Maybe he was becoming too powerful. I don't think that's the case with Gene Hackman, though. Although I will acknowledge that I do 100% believe that things like this are happening to people in Hollywood, rich and famous people. I do believe there's plots to take them out all the time, and money is involved and other things are involved. I just don't see it with Gene Hackman. But Randy Quaid does, because he has doubled down on his claims that he thinks Gene Hackman was killed. So I want to go ahead and read to you all some of what he has been saying. Hollywood wouldn't recognize a murdered actor unless he was killed between action and cut. So let me get this straight. Hackman's wife died from moose poop after she and Gene were murdered? Great job investigating. Sorry to laugh, but yeah, I mean, that's the explanation we were given. It totally caught me off guard. It caught me by surprise. But that doesn't mean it's a lie. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, trust me. I was just as flabbergasted as all of you all when I heard that it was mouse or moose poop that killed Betsy. But that doesn't mean it's not true. You know what I mean? I think it's funny that he's like, oh, they determined that moose poop killed Betsy after she was murdered. Randy Quaid, he has gotten a certain reputation over recent years. A lot of people try to paint him out as being crazy and insane and things along those lines. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think Randy is different. He's unique. He's quirky. He's kind of weird. But everyone in Hollywood is. And I think when you get exposed to certain evils in Hollywood and you see how things work behind the scenes, you can never be the same person again. So when it comes to people like Randy, yeah, he may be far out there at times, but he is dropping truths in some of the stuff that he's saying. I'm not saying that he's right about Gene Hackman, but he is right that things like this happen to people like Gene Hackman. And usually, or sometimes it's not just a coincidence. It's not just an accident. There is a bigger plot. Now, I feel like Randy kind of turned on Hollywood and started exposing certain Hollywood secrets. And ever since then, Hollywood has done whatever they can to destroy his life and discredit him. There's two ways that they take you out. If you're talking too much, if you're saying too much, they either assassinate you or they assassinate your character. Either they view you as someone who they know the general public will view as too credible, too reliable, too truthful and honest, so they will kill you, or they view you as someone that they can discredit, that they can turn into the laughing stock of this news story or that news story. They look at you as someone, hey, you know, we could just discredit this person and people will look at him like he's crazy. We don't got to assassinate him. We'll just assassinate his character. I think some of that has happened to Randy Quaid. I'm not here to tell you that this guy is in 100% the right state of mind, but there has been an effort over the years to make him look crazier and things along those lines. But that's not what we're really here to talk about. We're not really here to talk about Randy Quaid's past. I want to go over more of his comments that are really standing out to me right now. Staged murders get investigated all the time, but never when a movie star is the victim with millions in ad value and streaming royalties forever. Living in an illegal, immigrant-infested, drug cartel-riddled town, it becomes easy to ignore the axe in the forehead and write down natural cause. Gene Hackman and wife are murder victims, and it was set up and staged. Once again, I understand why people have their theories. I don't think that's what happened to Gene Hackman here. Because I'll keep bringing up the age. I don't think Gene had much longer that he was going to be here collecting this money. So why kill him now? Why not kill him 30 years ago, if that's what you were focused on? But that's when Betsy comes up. Because, okay, let's say Gene dies 95, 96, 97 years old, right? Let's say Gene just naturally dies within a couple of years. Then you have Betsy. Is Betsy going to start getting that money that Gene was supposed to be getting? Well, now they got Betsy too. Now Betsy's out of the equation. So that does make the situation weirder, because not only is Gene gone, but Betsy is gone too. And Betsy died by some virus that most people have never even heard of. So I understand the mystery there, because it's like, all right, well, why would you kill an old man, Gene Hackman? I mean, that doesn't make sense. Well, what about Betsy, though? What about Betsy? Were they concerned that Gene Hackman was about to go, but Betsy would be around for another 30 or 40 years collecting that money? I understand where people are coming from. But then he goes on to say this: all an actor has to do to find out who is out to whack him or her is to look at who is using their image, name, career, and film clips to see where their revenue is going and what bank account it's landing in. So, I feel like this is very interesting for many reasons, because on one hand, we have this Gene Hackman case, right? I don't think that what Randy Quaid is warning people about, what Randy Quaid is talking about, I don't think that happened here in this case. But I do think that that has happened in other cases. But we have to be careful how we approach this, because now easily anyone who dies in Hollywood, for whatever reason, whenever a famous person dies, someone can always falsely claim that, oh, they were whacked because of this, they were assassinated because of this or that. And I don't want to say it's dangerous, but is it really helpful if every single time a famous person dies, people think there's a gigantic conspiracy? Doesn't that kind of discredit the real conspiracies? Doesn't that kind of soften things up a bit? Like, let's say 2 or 3 weeks from now, a celebrity mysteriously dies and there really is a crazy plot behind it. Will people be less likely to believe that plot is real because of stuff like what's being pushed in the Gene Hackman case? You guys get where I'm going at, right? Let's say there's a gigantic real conspiracy that plays out in a few weeks that wipes out a couple of celebrities that knew too much. People will be less likely to believe that because people have already said that, oh, Gene Hackman was whacked, even though he's a 95-year-old man, apparently with advanced Alzheimer's and what have you. So you have to be careful when looking at these cases and covering these cases. You have to be careful, because you don't have to just think about this case. You have to think about future cases. And don't allow how you cover and how you feel and how you think and how you talk about a current case to ruin the potential in future cases. Because now people could look back on this Gene Hackman story and they could use these theories that were floating around about his death and about him being killed and stuff like that. They could use this to discredit totally real plots in the future. And we've already seen things like that happen plenty of times. And I can guarantee you it will happen again. It might not be next week. It might not be next month. It might not be next year. Somewhere along the line, there's going to be something weird, something unexplainable, something crazy that's going to happen to one of these Hollywood celebrities that knows too much, or maybe they were too powerful, too liked, they had too much money. Something weird is going to happen to them. And when people are trying to prove the conspiracy surrounding their death, the naysayers will use the Gene Hackman's case as evidence that, hey, you guys do this every time a celebrity dies. Hey, you guys claimed the same thing happened to Gene Hackman when we know it didn't. So be careful, because not everything is a conspiracy. But even saying that, maybe I'm wrong. Because sometimes maybe the conspiracy is that they want you to believe that everything is a conspiracy. So when the real conspiracies go down, you're desensitized to it. And other people are looking at it like, you say everything's a conspiracy. So they're really muddying the waters. They're watering things down for the future. And I think that this may be a bigger problem that we're dealing with in society right now. You know, everyone has to make every single thing that happens a gigantic conspiracy. Therefore, it seems like the general public has grown totally numb to it, right? The general public is numb to it. People don't even bat an eye anymore. People don't even care. And it sucks. But that's how things are. And that's why I think we need to be careful. We need to call things out when they're weird. We need to call things out when they don't make sense. But we also need to be careful not to fall in any traps, you know, that are going to be used against us. And I'm not even saying that there's a gigantic conspiracy to wrap us up in a conspiracy, you know, with the Gene Hackman stuff. That's not what I'm saying either. I'm just saying be careful out there, okay? Be careful what you believe. Be careful what information you share, because we are in a bigger and deeper conflict than any of us realize. There's a battle being fought every day, and we're all on the battlefield regardless if we know it or not. So be careful not to be your own worst enemy in this fight. But as far as Gene Hackman goes, I'm well aware that there's going to be people out there that are going to question this stuff for a very long time. And that's perfectly fine. Because I think that all of you have the right to think and believe what you want. But as of right now, personally, I think that this is just a tragic situation. I don't think that there's a bigger plot here. I do think that investigators messed up a few times initially with, you know, the mix-up in details, the wrong details, the front door, the dog, all of that. But that doesn't mean that there's a crazier situation going on behind the scenes. But I could be wrong. And if I am wrong, I'll be the first one to tell you. Because I'm not going to just stop looking into everything now because I've recorded this video. I'll keep looking into things, and I'll be back with any updates if there are any. But for now, let me know your thoughts below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.